Welcome back to the NJCPA IssuesWatch podcast. Here are top 3 things that everybody in our industry has to know about emerging technologies, both now and going forward. This is the NJCPA IssuesWatch podcast. Welcome back to the NJCPA IssuesWatch podcast. I'm your tech host, Stein Smith, and I do a lot of work in the blockchain crypto asset space and also dabble in, AI, RPA, and honestly, every tool or application or idea, right, to help us actually do our current jobs better and to improve our opportunities going forward, right, to elevate ourselves to that trusted business partner level that all of us want to be, but aren't always able to do so if we're all busy doing manual work. But all of you already know me. And so I'm really, really happy to have on the podcast this month, Jeremy Now, who is a real expert, thought leader, and a true sort of influencer almost out there in our space, right? For everything blockchain, crypto, and honestly trying to harness it and turn all of these headlines and sort of online talking points into actual products and actual services to help his team and his client to do better going forward. So I'm going to toss it over to him for a brief introduction of himself and his firm. Over to you, Jeremy.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate the opportunity to be on the podcast. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jeremy Now. I'm a CPA by trade. I'm a director and product manager within Armanino's digital assets practice. I've been at the firm about 8 years, but about 4 years in, I fell down the crypto and digital assets rabbit hole and was lucky enough to meld my personal and professional passions with the work that I get to do every day at Armanino. Also, I've been lucky enough to work on new products that we've built, such as our real-time attest and proof of reserves Trust Explorer modules that hopefully bring a new spin or get people to think differently about the future of our profession and the space that we're serving of crypto and digital assets.
Awesome stuff, Jeremy. And so I have to ask you first off the top, this is not a question that's on the agenda, but obviously, right, currently there has been quite a bit of action in the Bitcoin space, crypto asset prices. And so at the firm level, again, obviously not asking you to give any advice, but sort of the current take on that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as from our perspective, the way that we view these things is that the market price, people look at it as a proxy for the market. But for us, we look at what's being built and the groundwork that's being laid in the future. If you take, a step back 2, 5, 7 years back, where we were 7 or 5 years ago is much different than where we are today. Today, things have changed so much. If you told me in 2017 that 2 countries would adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, that 90% of central banks would be looking at central bank digital currencies, if Fidelity was offering Bitcoin in your IRA, if KPMG was having Bitcoin Ethereum on their balance sheet, I would not have believed you at all. So when we take a step back, I think the trend is clear. This is not going anywhere, and it's only going to become more and more ubiquitous in our profession and outside of it.
Excellent points there, right? And it's awfully easy to sort of get sort of focused only on the current prices, current trading actions, trading volumes, because all that's easy to follow. But absolutely, right? The past of crypto winter, 2018, 2019, all of that helped to fuel all of the other applications and tools, right? Be it NFTs, privately issued stable coins, DeFi, all of that work was actually built during the last sort of drawdown in overall prices. So just off the top there, it's part of how the market works, right?
Exactly. It's that creative destruction process.
There we go.
Go through.
And so obviously, right, sort of at your firm and on your team, you are all focused on blockchain and crypto. So obviously sort of those are directly impacting how the audit field, how any assurance or attest engagements operate. But are there any direct impacts on the everyday work being done by individuals on your team and at your firm?
I mean, if you think about it, like any technological impact is going to have an impact on the profession, accountants, auditors everywhere, because, in the simplest scenario, some new startup created some new technology, and an accountant in the basement is going to have to figure out that new transaction type and how to figure that out.
In the basement? In the basement, Jeremy? Come on, man. Aren't we outside now? It's summer.
Yeah, I've been watching Office Space. But as far as kind of thinking about these technological shifts and how we think about them, or how I think about them at least, is that I think about outside kind of exogenous technological shifts that are going to affect how we execute our current roles, more like shifts that are going to shape how we have to react and figure it out just to do our current jobs more. So in that case, I think of, crypto assets, stable coins, Bitcoin. These, I think as these become more ubiquitous, we're just going to have to, all accountants and all practitioners are going to need to know how to interact with these and account for them just to do their normal jobs, right? Just to do their day-to-day. But then I think of that other side, or that other potential technological shifts that we can leverage or help enable to do our jobs better. So in this category, we think of things that can present new opportunities, right, for new products and services that can help almost expand the pie of what our profession can do. So, we talked about digital assets, CBDCs, all these things that we're going to have to figure out how to deal with. But at the same time, there's all these different tools that are being built, or new technologies that we can leverage. For instance, these crypto accounting subledgers, they fundamentally change how accounting is being performed, right? They're basically updating our accounts in real time. These real-time tax tools. Now you can make much better decision-making throughout the year if you know your current position for realized and unrealized gain and loss. I know automation is key, right? A lot of folks in firms are using Alteryx. And then especially from our firm, what we've been leveraging blockchain powered tools for our real-time attest and AUP modules, where we can essentially issue real-time reports on different subject matter. And of course, they're starting with relatively simple use cases today, such as stable coins or other asset-backed tokens. But as we keep evolving and keep shifting, I think that's just going to be expanded to more and more use cases that we're really excited to see how it evolves.
So it's almost like there's a track A and a track B of how these tools, technologies, and applications are actually driving change, right? Track A is sort of that daily incremental improvement, right? Be it automation, be it more transparency into transactions on the tax point of view, audit point of view, all the rest. And there's also sort of this sort of bigger picture, again, sort of pivot almost underway in how we have to deal with data, how our clients deal with data, and how ultimately we can help our clients better manage all of this data. And so, how are we, right, as the industry, going to evolve in a positive way, in a proactive way? Are there any areas that sort of you have either seen firsthand or heard about that sort of the current students, current folks coming in, either as interns, entry level, manager level people, can sort of hone in on to help themselves sort of pop out in the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I think our profession might have fallen behind the 8 ball when it related to digital assets. About 5 years ago, there were great influencers like you being able to present and talk about this technology and help people understand it. But I think collectively as a profession, we oftentimes ended up relying on external parties or the technologists to tell us how this stuff worked. And I think that's how we were thinking about it. We were thinking about it as a technology. But what these things actually are, blockchains actually are, is they're accounting ledgers. So we were the ones with the understanding of ledger technology. We understood the debits, the credits, T accounts, segregation of duties, completeness and accuracy of data, right? But we weren't the one fulfilling and understanding that and explaining the technology to society. And I think we've actually, us and society has been behind the 8 ball for a couple of years because of that. So how do we reverse that trend? I think what we really need to do is we need to invite people to learn these things firsthand and understand that this is actually fundamentally an accounting technology, and we are going to be the ones that have to foster this technology to the world and ensure, one, like we need to know this because our jobs are going to depend on it, but society is looking at us as the ledger experts to provide them explanations that they need. So when I think about, how can we bridge that gap between current understanding and where we need to be? Of course, we just have to learn, right? We have to stop outsourcing the understanding. We have to start learning ourselves. And that's getting to the source or getting right to the meat of really good information. So I always invite people to start with Bitcoin because that's where the first chain of blocks, as it was referred to in the white paper, was created for the use of Bitcoin, right? And it was actually referred to as a time chain. And the word blockchain was never actually mentioned in the white paper. But there's some great books out there, like the Bitcoin Standard and Grokking Bitcoin. I would definitely advise all accountants to read those. And Darren Feinstein, he is an ex-accountant who is the CEO of Core Scientific of a current public company Miner. And he's gone on a few different podcasts and he understands how accountants think and speak. And he's presented these ideas in really good ways for us to understand using terminology that we get. So I would certainly start there with starting to build a Rolodex of trusted sources of who you can learn from. But that never can really substitute for tinkering with the tech ourselves. I would always invite people to get a wallet, mess around with stable coins, go to a blockchain explorer and look at literally the transaction debits and credits. Like you can literally see them, the T accounts there on the explorers. It's amazing. We can even run our own versions of the blockchain accounting ledgers ourselves, right? You can run a node. And you can really start to get your hands dirty with this stuff because it's just going to become more and more ubiquitous. And of course, I think you're doing a great job, right? We need to start bringing this in schools and curriculums everywhere. I know I've been lucky enough to be able to present to college students, and it's actually something that gets them really excited and brings more people to the profession when we can let them know that accounting is so fundamental to this new technology that we're all going to be affected by. And the last thing I would say is that sometimes when talking about crypto and digital assets, there's a negative kind of perspective some people have. They still have a snark about it when they hear about Bitcoin or digital assets, or they might think it's politically incorrect. I think, of course, yeah, there was maybe perhaps a negative perception of the industry initially, but the trend is clear. This is not going anywhere, and we can, be Luddites, or we can lean into this technology, embrace it, and really be a trusted resource for the industry going forward.
Excellent points there, Jeremy. And honest, sort of the core item there that I know that that I've seen firsthand too, reinforcing your point, is that honestly, I've been out there, working with crypto and blockchain, talking about it, using it, doing it since about early 2016. And the overall sort of point of view there, it was almost viewed as some other technology tool, as a bolt-on application, like an upgrade to QuickBooks or SAP. And it honestly isn't, right? It is at the most basic level a change in how transactions are stored, analyzed, and then tracked. And I mean, our job is to actually do that quite well. And so, yes, if we can sort of bridge that gap, and there has been quite a bit of headway made on those points, all of that will help us as individuals and our firms sort of be better positioned going forward.
And if you think about it, like, I don't think most of our profession understands that Bitcoin is literally the most secure accounting ledger in history. Like, it's amazing to think about this. Like, think about it 5,000 years ago, if you wanted to tamper or change the ledger, you could, bake a fraudulent clay tablet. Today, you have QuickBooks and ERPs, and it might be a little bit harder to tamper with the ledger or commit fraud, but with enough time and effort, you could figure it out, right? But the Bitcoin ledger, more so than any other blockchain ledger out there, is extremely secure. It can only be tampered with if you compile 51% of the hash rate, get miners, like millions of miners from around the world, source enough energy to power them all, and then you have to be willing to spend all that investment for basically minimal or no reward for attacking the network. It would literally cost billions to get to that point, and no other accounting ledger in history has a $1 billion plus security mechanism protecting it. Like, it's amazing to think about, and I just don't like it. There's unforeseen impacts with this new really secure ledger that we haven't really, understood and fully fulfilled the implications of that yet.
Absolutely right. And trying to add on to that, right? Trying to sort of piggyback on that. Ultimately, in 5 years or 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, what is the CPA going to actually look like on an individual basis and on a firm basis, right? I mean, you and your team are obviously, diving head first into all of these new applications, service lines, and all the rest. But overall, right, how are we going to evolve and pivot, or are we, right? Because I'm sure you've heard heard all of this too, right? That the auditor is going obsolete, that the firms are going to be able to outsource a ton of their work to non-CPA firms. How are we going to look as a field in 10 years, 20 years from now?
Yeah. I have a lot of opinions on this, but
Great.
Start with a couple of ideas. So, I mean, I think we're going to lean in as an industry to the opportunities related to digital assets because we're simply going to need to.
Mhm.
We're going to need it as a profession to provide services to them, and they're going to need us. Most importantly, related to digital assets, I think we're going to be the key link between the digital and physical worlds.
Mhm.
I'll explain that a little bit. You can think about, stable coins, think tokenized assets, think tokenized gold. Who is going to be the party that proves that the real underlying asset is there that's being depicted on chain? I think we're in a great opportunity to be that trusted real world link between the digital and physical worlds. And if it's not us, someone might take our place, but we are certainly in prime position to figure that out. So I think a huge initial opportunity. As far as, other trends, I think, of course, we're going to go more real time. I think we have to. I think everything else in the world is basically real time or trending to real time. Either we're going to figure it out or technologists will. I mean, I think a lot of us potentially have gotten complacent that we will always have jobs because there's been, state or government decree. But what if better alternative existed for them to choose from, right? If the technologists can provide real-time reporting, it's going to create potential, and the people are calling for it. They might certainly look for them to provide services in the future. I think of smart contract audit. That was an opportunity that our profession had early on, and we lost it. And they don't necessarily have CPA standards or don't even have certifications, but they're fulfilling the market need better than we did. And now they're the go-to provider in the space. I think one of the other things that's a trend that I don't think is going to stop either is decentralized work. I think that trend's going to continue. I feel bad for firms that did completely new renovations right before COVID. But if you think about it, picture if you had two job offers. One is, one in person mandatory or one is optional. All things the same, I think you're likely going to take the optional one. This is actually what me and my fiance did. We were living in the Bay Area. It was expensive. We thought we can work from anywhere. Why not find a beach somewhere? So that's exactly what we did. I can see a future where there's numerous, maybe small satellite offices that people, can bring people together because I think people still do want that. Sure. But I believe the days of the mega office of 1,000+ people are, going to obviously face some headwinds. But overall, I think it's one of the most exciting times ever to be an accountant. We are in the midst of the greatest technological shift in our generation, and it's happening right now within our understanding in our field. I think the space needs service providers and the world needs our understanding of ledgers to help guide them through the shift. And if we can rise to the occasion, we can foster responsible innovation and put America and our profession in particular at a great position to capitalize on the greatest upgrade in accounting since the 1400s. So needless to say, I'm pretty excited, pretty pumped, and looking forward to the future holds for us, the industry, and the profession.
Awesome stuff there, Jeremy. And I'm obviously on that same page with you. Yes, right, that there are going to be opportunities that no one even knows about yet, right, that are going to pop up in 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now. And it really is on us to be proactive, to be motivated, right, to educate ourselves, practice, experiment, ask questions, and to honestly try to figure out how to leverage our existing expertise, which is quite a bit, in these new directions and areas, right? So it isn't so much I think, obstacle. It's an opportunity for us to sort of retool, to reorient ourselves, to honestly probably do the types of work that we're more interested in doing anyway.
Completely agree. It's an opportunity to use our creative capacity, which us as accountants.
Creative accounting, woo!
Right? Yeah, creative accounting.
And so, to enter into the home stretch here today of our conversation, right? You actually mentioned earlier of your opportunity to actually be out there and to talk to college students. And how is the field going to best be able to, one, attract, and two, hold on to people who are in college now in high school now, and those individuals coming up the pipeline, Gen, I think, A, Z, and all the rest, right, coming after them.
What are we at?
Yeah, right. But sort of how can we make our industry, our field, and our work seem cool and interesting?
Yeah, I mean, well, the biggest draw for me and the young
We're pretty cool, right? Obviously, but how do we overall make it?
Yeah, I mean, what we can do is we can provide opportunity that they can't get in industry or anywhere else.
Mhm.
We can expose them to a bunch of different types of work and clients in the space. I know for me, that's a huge draw for my current job, is that I get so fulfilled because I can work with so many different client types, and I can build my knowledge base. I can build my value based on the clients that I get exposed to. And that's something they can't get elsewhere. So I think that's a huge way to attract talent. Of course, it's going to be hard because there's a lot of opportunity out there, especially now, and the industry is impacted with a talent shortage. But I think if we are able to convey our story, let them know that these opportunities exist, and that it's going to brighten their futures, that it's going to create more opportunities for them later in their career, I think it's a very compelling story for them, and hopefully it'll help attract more talent to our industry.
Absolutely right. And again, it's a real opportunity for all of us to try to be more creative and to honestly highlight the fact that yes, audit is out there, which is awfully cool, Jeremy, obviously. There's audit, tax, and advisory, but all of those have a lot of opportunities in them to do interesting work, to meet interesting people, and to really have a good, engaging, interactive time while also being at work.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's amazing, right? That's one of the best part about our jobs is, right, it's the client facing. Of course, it can add stress, but it gives you great opportunity, right? And especially you have the opportunity of client facing, the opportunity of crypto, this uncharted water. Young people are going to get opportunities extremely early on to make an impact, much earlier than they otherwise would in any other profession or any other industry.
Yeah, and so to actually now sort of wrap up, are there any closing thoughts, closing tidbits, closing pieces of advice you would give to an individual or a firm trying to get more hands-on with blockchain or with automation, right? How to start and how to try to build out ultimately a full service line at the firm?
Yeah, I mean, I know from our firm instance, we dove in headfirst and went to the core of, we talked to industry participants, we used the tech ourselves, we had to humble ourselves, right? We were nothing in this space, but we had to build something from nothing. Of course, we had something to draw from, our firm name, but we had nothing to do with crypto and digital assets. So how we were able to do, have decent success in the space is we built relationships. We had to be creative. We had to push the limit. Couldn't be complacent at all. And we had to understand that the opportunities were there and we were going to have setbacks, but we love this space. We love crypto and digital assets. So we wouldn't have it any other way. We live for this. We love accounting because digital assets are actually fundamentally on these ledgers. Like, this gets us excited every single day. So if you have a genuine excitement and passion for this space, I think you're going to be fine, because you're not going to find yourself waking up thinking, oh man, I have 20 more years of this before I retire. No, you're going to be excited about this. You're going to be looking constantly for the next new thing. Oftentimes the people that come and interview for our positions, they say, oh, this is what I do in my free time anyway. Now I can't wait to do this for my job every single day.
Awesome stuff, Jeremy. And it really has been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. I will definitely have you on again in the future, but I am going to ask you on your way out here, right? What is your 2022 end of year price target for Bitcoin? I always do this. I'm sorry.
I'm generally, in the cycle kind of theory camp. I think we'll probably hover around here. We might go a little bit lower. So I'll say 35K. I think we're gonna hover until the next halving, and that'll likely be the next catalyst.
All right. Heard it here first. Price target year-end 35,000. All right. And it was awesome having you on the podcast, Jeremy. Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate the opportunity. It's been a pleasure. Absolutely. And for my NJCPA folks out there, hopefully all of you are NJCPA members. And if you are, I highly encourage all of you to sign up for the NJCPA Emerging Technologies Interest Group at njcpa.org/groups. And all of our Issues Watch podcasts, mine and the whole host of others out there, are on archive at njcpa.org/podcast. Thanks. Have an awesome day.